The sound of shattering glass echoed through the hospital corridor. A nurse screamed, someone shouted for security, and in the middle of it all, Emily was on the cold tile floor, shielding her swollen belly with trembling hands. She was 7 months pregnant, admitted for early contractions, when chaos erupted around her. A woman in high heels and a red coat stormed into the maternity ward like a hurricane. Her hair was wild, her eyes red with fury. "You stole him from me," she screamed, lunging at Emily. Emily barely had time to react. The woman's nails tore across her arm as she tried to pull away. "Who are you? Stop," she cried, her voice trembling with fear and confusion. But the stranger didn't stop. She grabbed Emily by the hair and slammed her against the wall, hissing, "You think your little baby can keep him? He's mine." Nurses rushed in, shouting, trying to separate them. One of them pushed the emergency button. "Security to maternity, now." A male nurse grabbed the attacker's arms from behind, but she struggled wildly, still screaming Ethan's name. Emily's knees gave out, and she slid to the floor, holding her stomach. Sharp pain tore through her abdomen, the baby kicked hard, as if reacting to the chaos. When the security guards finally dragged the woman away, her voice echoed down the hall, "He doesn't love you, Emily." "He never did." Emily sat trembling on the hospital bed, heart racing, her mind spinning in disbelief. Ethan, her husband. The name had hit her like lightning. The attacker knew his name, knew her name. She looked at the nurses, who were trying to calm her down, but their eyes were filled with the same confusion and pity. "Do you know her?" one of them asked softly. Emily shook her head. "No, I've never seen her before." But inside, she knew it wasn't true. She'd seen that face once, on Ethan's phone, months ago. A woman smiling in a selfie, her head resting on his shoulder. Back then, Ethan had said it was just an old friend. She had believed him, because she wanted to believe him. The nurse cleaned the blood from her arm, checking her vitals. "You're going to be okay, sweetheart," she said gently. "You and the baby are stable. Try to breathe." But Emily couldn't breathe. Every inhale felt heavy, poisoned by betrayal. Ethan was away on a business trip, or so he said. And now, his old friend had found her in a hospital and tried to hurt her. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "Why would she do this?" A voice from the doorway answered, cold and broken. "Because he lied to both of us." Emily turned her head. The attacker, Vanessa, stood restrained by 2 guards, eyes filled with hate and heartbreak. "You think your perfect life means anything? He told me he'd leave you," Vanessa spat. "But you trapped him with that baby." Emily's tears turned to sobs. The hospital lights flickered, and for the first time, she realized this wasn't just an affair. It was something far more dangerous. And it had only just begun. By the time Ethan rushed into the hospital, dawn had already broken. The white corridors glowed with a pale, unforgiving light, and Emily sat motionless on her bed, her hands folded protectively over her belly. Her eyes were swollen from crying, her lips pale. When he entered the room, she didn't even look up. "Emily," he said softly, voice trembling. "What happened?" "They told me someone attacked you." She finally turned toward him, her gaze cold and sharp. "Someone," she whispered. "That someone was your mistress, Ethan." "Vanessa." Ethan froze. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. She was here." "Yes," Emily snapped, her voice rising. "She was here. She found me. She came into this hospital screaming your name and tried to kill me." "So tell me, Ethan, how did she know where I was?" He ran a hand through his hair, shaking his head. "I swear, I didn't tell her anything. I didn't even know she knew about the pregnancy." Emily laughed bitterly, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Don't lie to me again. You've done enough of that already." Before Ethan could speak, there was shouting in the hallway again. The guards were trying to escort Vanessa out of the hospital, but she was resisting, her voice echoing down the corridor. "Tell her, Ethan, tell your precious wife who her father is." Emily froze. Her heartbeat quickened. "What did she just say?" she whispered, eyes narrowing. Ethan's face turned pale, the color draining from it. Vanessa kept screaming, "You think he's your savior, Emily? You don't even know who you are." The police arrived, pulling Vanessa away, but her words lingered in the air like poison. Emily stared at her husband. "Ethan," she said, her voice shaking. "What is she talking about? Who is my father?" He looked away, his hands trembling. "Emily, please, this isn't the time." "It's exactly the time," she cried. "She attacked me. She knew my name, my hospital, everything. And now she's saying things about my family. Tell me the truth. Ethan sat on the edge of the bed, his shoulders slumped in defeat. It's not what you think, he whispered. Vanessa and we met a few years ago. I didn't know who she was at first. But then, I found out that she's my half-sister. Emily's jaw dropped. What? She's my father's daughter from another woman, he said, his voice cracking. I broke things off when I learned the truth, but she wouldn't let go. She wanted to destroy everything I had, especially you. Emily stared at him, horrified. So you're telling me your mistress is your sister? Ethan, that's disgusting. He covered his face with his hands. I know, I was stupid. I didn't realize it until it was too late. But Emily wasn't finished. And what does she mean about my father? She demanded. Ethan hesitated, then whispered words that shattered her world. Because, your father is the same man who fathered both me and Vanessa. Emily's entire body went cold. No, she breathed, shaking her head. That means, Ethan looked up, tears in his eyes. Emily, we share the same blood. The heart monitor beside her began to beat faster. Emily clutched her belly, gasping for air as the horrifying truth sank in. The man she had married, the father of her unborn child, was her own half-brother. 3 days passed since the attack, but the silence in Emily's hospital room was heavier than ever. The nurses came and went quietly, their voices gentle, their eyes filled with pity. The news had spread quickly, whispers about the scandal trailed her wherever she went. Ethan hadn't come back since that night. He'd left after she screamed at him to get out and never return. Now, Emily sat by the window, cradling her newborn son in her arms. The delivery had come early, stress-induced labor, the doctors said, but miraculously, her baby was healthy. He had tiny fingers, a small tuft of brown hair, and the softest little sighs that broke her heart. She had named him Noah, a symbol of new beginnings. But each time she looked at him, a storm of guilt and love battled inside her. Outside, the winter sun broke through the clouds, painting the hospital garden gold. Emily's mother had always said light finds its way through even the darkest moments. Now, those words felt both comforting and cruel. A nurse entered quietly, holding a small brown envelope. This was found among your personal things, Mrs. Carter, she said softly, placing it on the bedside table. It looks old. Emily frowned. Thank you. When the nurse left, Emily turned the envelope over in her hands. It was sealed with a faded wax stamp, her mother's initials. Her throat tightened. Her mother had passed away years ago, leaving behind more questions than answers about her past. Maybe, just maybe, this envelope held something she wasn't meant to find until now. With trembling hands, she opened it. Inside was a photograph, an old Polaroid of her mother, smiling under the summer sun, her arm wrapped around a tall man Emily didn't recognize. But as she looked closer, her heart began to race. The man's eyes, his jawline, she knew that face. It was Ethan's father. On the back of the photo, written in her mother's delicate handwriting, were the words, "For my daughter Emily, one day you'll learn the truth. I only hope you'll forgive me." Emily pressed her hand to her mouth, sobbing silently. The truth was undeniable now. Her mother and Ethan's father had once been together, and out of that secret came her. The tangled web of lies had started long before she ever met Ethan. They were both children born from hidden sins, victims of choices made by people long gone. The door opened quietly. Ethan stood there, his eyes hollow. "I just wanted to see the baby," he said softly. Emily turned away. "He's not just a baby, Ethan. He's an innocent soul brought into a world poisoned by secrets." "I'm sorry," he whispered, voice breaking. "If I could change it." "You can't," she interrupted, tears streaming down her cheeks. "But I can. I won't let this darkness define him." She looked down at Noah and smiled weakly. "We'll start over. Somewhere far from here. He'll grow up knowing the truth, but never the shame." As Ethan stood frozen, watching her hold their child, Emily whispered to her son, "You'll never be a secret, my love. We'll build something pure from the ashes of their lies." And for the first time in weeks, she felt strength, not from forgiveness, but from resolve. The past had broken her, but her son would be her reason to rise again.